I'm about community, learning, discussion, respect, integrity, truth, science, and discovery. Welcome to my Paranormal Soapbox. Hello, and welcome to my Paranormal Soapbox. I'm your friendly neighborhood ghost hunter, Justin Brown, and welcome to episode, I believe it's 19. Am I right about that? How come I can't remember the number of the episode? Oh well, I think it's 19. But we're going to talk about skepticism in the paranormal field this evening. It's a pretty popular topic amongst the followers of my blog page and abroad. Everybody likes to talk about, the use of skepticism. Is it good? Is it bad? We're going to find out what I think. We're going to find out what you guys think. And we're going to have a little discussion about it for the next hour. But before we do, we are going to go over to the girls and see how they're doing. Ask them if they're ready. Are you girls ready?
Ready.
Clearly.
They're ready. Okay, so if you guys are first-time watchers, how it works is we want you to engage in the chat room. We're on YouTube and on Facebook, as you can see the comments rolling there. We want you to ask questions. We want you to talk amongst yourselves. We want to know your opinions, your feelings. Just lay it out there for us. And periodically, I'll go back to the girls, and we'll have them read off your comments and questions, and we will interact. So I'll come back to you guys, okay?
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. So, skepticism. Why would skepticism be good in the paranormal field? Well, in my opinion, you got to question everything, especially things that seem outside of what people perceive as reality, as the norm in a general sense. Some people have wild, crazy, profound experiences growing up, paranormal or not paranormal, and they may be wild and crazy to other people, but normal to them. So it doesn't that really doesn't apply to those people, but you want to consider it. You want to consider that you have not experienced everything that there is to know what's normal and not normal. But what is normal and not normal? That's a question we're going to have to address this evening. But we're going to talk mainly about why you should question things that are kind of outside the general definition of what's normal, of what's, paranormal. So that's what we'll do this evening, okay? And we're going to kind of go over what the, Webster's definition of skepticism is, what my definition of skepticism is, and I'd like to hear about what you think your definition of skepticism is when you apply it to things that are paranormal, spiritual stuff, aliens, anything, okay? Anything like that, conspiracy theories even. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there that, we got fake news and the whole, shenanigans going on with our politics and just a whole bunch of stuff out there. The internet has pretty much become a crazy source of information that we have to be skeptical of because we can be fooled very easily. And the same could be said about the stuff that you see in the paranormal field. It comes to photos, it comes to videos, it comes to people's stories. Why should we use skepticism? Well, the dictionary, it says a skeptical attitude, doubt as to the truth or something, or the theory that certain knowledge is impossible. Okay, there's very many subsets to that definition. Just having a doubt, it doesn't really mean that you straight up disbelieve, but you have a doubt. If you read in the Bible that, the Lord created the heavens and the earth in 7 days, I think it's perfectly normal to doubt that, to question it. A lot of people debate whether, it's actual 7 days or it's God's 7 days. Whatever that is, you kind of try to understand, well, some things we just hear about seems extraordinary. And, with extraordinary claims, you need extraordinary proof. And the same can be said about seeing a ghost, experiencing something crazy like getting pulled out of your bed, seeing a flying severed head, seeing, crazy, crazy stuff that a lot of people report. And I have no doubt in my mind that people experience things, but the source of a lot of things can vary and I think can be different from what people perceive them. But if I were to answer the question, is skepticism good for the paranormal field? Absolutely yes. Okay, you cannot take everything at face value. First off, you need to be skeptical of what you perceive yourself, your own data when it comes to what you record on video and audio. You need to be skeptical of it, okay? And you need to go through a process of what we call as debunking, okay? So if you get a hit on a device, or if you get an alleged anomalous recording, whether it be on video and audio, you're going to first start to go through a process of finding an explanation for what that could be, okay? So if you're very good at controlling your environment, eliminating contamination or things that can, cause false positives or cause things to happen within your control area to give you a sense of something paranormal happening. It could be your own investigators, it could be cars outside, it could be neighbors, it could be animals, things creeping through the house, it could be your own self. Okay, so we need to practice a level of skepticism when we do things, when we're trying to figure out anything. Now, this applies to everything, I think. A lot of things. Most things, right? If your child comes up to you and says, I did the dishes, I did the laundry, I cleaned my room, and I did my homework, all in an hour, you're going to be skeptical about that, right? You're going to be like, okay, let's go check that. Let's go see if you actually did that and see how well you did it. So you don't automatically take that for face value. So, there's a lot of things that people have skepticism for, and naturally so. And I think that when it comes to the paranormal, a lot of people, they'll be presented with something allegedly paranormal, and they'll be like, wow, they'll just believe it without any proof, any validation, without questioning it. A lot of it is pictures. A lot of it's photographs and video. So what do you guys do when you normally see something posted out there? If someone claims that they captured a ghost on camera, or if they got an EVP or something along that lines, what do you guys normally do? Do you kind of just look at it, make, a quick judgment on it and say, that's nothing? Or do you automatically believe, what they say they saw is in fact in the photo or the video? What do you guys do? I want to know what you guys do, and we'll get to your comments in a moment. I'll tell you what I do, okay? If it's a photograph, I want the original photo with all the metadata, the original metadata on it, and I want to analyze that first. I want to make sure that it hasn't been tampered with. And the other parts of it is if, it'll tell me, all the settings of the camera, what type of exposure settings and shutter speeds and everything else. Did the flash fire? Did it not? All those things are important to know when it comes to, trying to analyze a photograph to determine whether the validity of the paranormal claim is true or not. So that's the first thing I like to do. And in video is the same way. You look at the metadata in the video. You can tell if it's been tampered with. You can tell if, there's settings in the camera or certain specs of the camera that could cause anomalies that are not paranormal, that can cause things to be perceived as paranormal, but in fact, actually are not. A lot of those things involved, dust particles or moisture being illuminated by flash, slow exposure time, obstruction of the flash. Even if you get something in front of the flash, it can cause like a shadow in your image. In video, it's a little bit different. Resolution, low light situations can cause grain and can cause some pareidolia. You can get the same thing happening with airborne particles. A lot of things can happen, but there's a lot of fakery going on, and that should be the first thing to tell somebody, should I, or you should think to yourself, okay, all this fakery is going on. We need to use a certain amount of skepticism when taking a look and peer reviewing some of these things. So we're going to go to the girls. I know that there's a lot of comments flashing by here. So who wants to start first? The first thing I want you to do is shout out all the people in your chat first, and then we'll get to the comments. So who's going first?
I will.
Okay.
Sam's on. Bozard's on. Landon Wells is on. Fabio, King of Mods, on. Truth Paranormal. Haunted in Life. Michelle. And Heather Elliott's. And she has a comment.
Okay.
She said when she looks at a photo, she wants to see at least 2 additional photos, one before and one after, so she can compare that.
That's something nice to have. And I have something to add to that. I have stressed and try to communicate to my followers that just taking stills is actually bad. If you have a video camera's lowest setting is 24 frames per second. So it's better to have a video rolling at all times, just so you can get that much more data to analyze.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments addressing my opening statements?
Sam says she likes how you do it. When you take the photos, you use video too.
Yeah, it's good for cross-checking. Sometimes you're just out taking photos for Instagram or, to show where you're at, photos of the members. Everybody does that, and I advocate that. But if something happens in the photograph, you don't have something to cross-check it with, it's hard to validate. I do not always stick a camera on my still, or a video camera on my still camera. It's very hard to be disciplined.
Right. Landon said he's most skeptic of psychics.
That is a good thing to be skeptical of. I am too.
But that's it right now.
Okay. Keep the questions and comments coming on YouTube, guys. What's up over there on Facebook? I see equal people.
Yeah, I got RJ Murphy, Scott Carter, Derek Schreiner, Carrie Lynn Forjax, Tony Pelosi. Forgix.
I think that's closer than what you said.
Okay. Diana Wolf, Bill Davis, Josh Bender.
Forgix, yeah.
Christy, Dan Everson. And that's about it. Bill Davis said you're going to hell for that one. It was in your opening statements. I don't know which one.
I'm going to hell? Okay, well, if it's not for what I said today, it's probably for something else.
Right? He said some guys are better at others than looking at video and audio in post.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said we should create a central evidence checker.
Good luck with that. There's been many people who've tried to do like this peer review where you submit all your stuff to a body or a group of people who are, I guess, trained enough and skilled enough to do so and to trust whatever comes out of that peer review. But I have not yet seen any forum like that being successful yet. But I advocate it, and I would support any such thing.
And then Daniel Everson said, I'm skeptical of certain pics as pixelated pics are normal. And then he said, well, not normal, but common.
Right. What about the ones that you see like 40 circles, red circles around every little thing? Doesn't that drive you insane when you see that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but if you have to put like 10 circles on just a snapshot and you don't see anything there, people like me do not take well to that. I hate to sound cynical about it, but yeah, it drives us nuts.
Right. But that's all I got for right now.
Okay. I will get back to you guys in a moment. All right. Well, very, very, very cool things you guys said so far. I like to see that people are skeptical. Psychics especially. You should be skeptical. You should try to do what you can to validate what psychics can bring to a paranormal investigation and to readings that they pick up on. What we like to do in Interface Death that I've seen others do is kind of like the Dead Files thing. You have the sensitive or psychic come in blind, try to cover up anything that can influence them, try not to have them do any prior research of the location they're going to, do a walkthrough, document it on video, let them give you all the impressions they have, and then cross-check what they pick up on with what you find and what the client reports. So if you can do that, that is really a really good way to research metaphysics. And we do that as best as we possibly can. I know the people we do that in our group, it's very hard for them not to be influenced because there's people sharing information about the locations we're going to. And it's hard for them to sit out during parts of the investigation like tours and other things that gives us prior knowledge because they don't want to be left out. They want to be part of the group. So it's difficult for them to do that. So you're going to run into some complications. But if the more disciplined and the more hardcore you are about it, the better you can research that. When it comes to ITC, claiming that you can talk to the dead, have a two-way conversation, I think we need to bring more skepticism to the field. I think we need to do a better job as a whole, as the paranormal community as a whole, to point fingers, ask for more validation, and be more skeptical about a lot of stuff. There's a lot of people in the paranormal community that have their devices that claim to, speak to the dead. I mean, I tell you what, most of everything that's coming out of the ITC field right now, like 99.9%, is not legitimate in my opinion. It's not. No one's trying to validate, and no one's trying to cross-check. No one's trying to go extra mile to, legitimize it. No one's trying to think outside the box. Everyone's trying to copy. There's a whole bunch of fighting and bickering going on. It's a big popularity contest. It's bad. Okay. Even in antiquity, ITC has failed. Okay. Stuff like the Spirit Com and other stuff like that, it just can't be replicated. All right. There's a lot of apps on phones that claim that they can, talk to the dead. I mean, really? That's funny, and it comes across really bad to the skeptical community and the scientific community. I mean, aren't we trying to have our paranormal work present something that can hold up to scrutiny? I mean, I know a lot are they're trying, but they just don't see the larger picture of how you're supposed to validate things and how people are supposed to take the same methods and produce the same results. Spirit photography. I have not yet seen someone who claims to do spirit photography have legitimate photos that cannot be explained. I talk about pareidolia all the time. I talk about, people not understanding even the basics of photography. There's so many things that can pop up in your photos that are not paranormal that people think are. Okay, and it's crazy. It's what makes people like me and many others cynical when it comes to that type of stuff popping up in the paranormal community. There's people that claim to have hundreds, dozens of photos that they hand over to us paranormal researchers, investigators, and they just want us to believe them. They don't want us to, scrutinize their photos. They don't want us to debunk what they're seeing because what they're experiencing, they believe is real. Okay? If you're listening to this blog show, okay, if you're listening and you're not a paranormal researcher, you don't know much about it, but you think you're experiencing a haunting, do not think that your supposed or alleged physical evidence, like photos, recordings, are what they think they are. Please, I submit everything that I get to professional photographers. I look at it, and then I have, professional photographers and videographers peer review it. Over my 5 years, I have met dozens of people that are good at what they do. Okay, and if they can explain something in a video, I trust them, and I, trust their expertise. So if you're listening to this and you think that you got a whole bunch of photos and a whole bunch of evidence of stuff that's going on, please be open-minded to any type of feedback that's not good, when it comes to those things being debunked. Because I'm telling you what, there is very few and far between photos that you can submit to that type of scrutiny that will pass as, we don't know what that is. That could possibly be something, okay? So, if you're investigating, okay, and you catch something that you cannot explain, just sit on it, okay? You need to gather more evidence. You need to kind of think to yourself, hey, what's it going to take to convince a jury that there's a ghost at my house, okay? Is it just going to be one photo? No. There's more skepticism in the paranormal field than there is in the criminal, avenue, in the judicial realm, okay? You can just have one person come up in a court of law and say, yep, he did it. You probably could get convicted of that. So the skepticism there is still not as much as you would need it to be. But when it comes to the paranormal, sure, there's a lot of people out there that will believe easily. The belief in the paranormal is something very, very interesting to me. The objectivity is not popular. More and more people become subjective, have subjective ways of approaching what they believe in, and they have emotional ties to it. For example, would be my mother passed away, my child passed away, wanting to speak with them again or find any evidence of them existing after death, okay? At that point, you can become so compromised by your, just mournful, misery of losing and going through that, much of pain and suffering, that you can lose all objectivity, okay? Anything that you see, you may see your loved one. Anything that you hear may be, you may be reaching beyond all limits to try to believe that that's them and that they are still there. You can hallucinate seeing them. I've seen cases of people just saying that they're coming to them while they're sitting there in their chair watching Price is Right at night, and in fact they're not. So that is an example of how the subjective reality of each individual can come into play. So us on the paranormal investigation side needs to practice a certain amount of skepticism while trying to maintain an amount of openness to what could be going on. Because one thing I would like to discuss in the show is you need to have a balance of skepticism. You need to have a balance of openness. Okay? And that is hard. It is easy to become cynical. It's easy to become super skeptical. It's easy for people to come, blind and open and believing in everything. So how do we find that perfect balance? How to, try to balance out open-mindedness and skepticism and not come across wrong to people and not, rub people the wrong way. That's something I've been working on and trying to do this whole time. So, like I've said before, treat people like you would want to be treated in that situation, first and foremost. Treat them like they're people who are just trying to understand. Some people are frauds. Some people are trying to trick you and lie to you. But mostly, they're not. They're just trying to figure out what's going on. They may not understand. Okay? So, having that amount of patience and discipline to the balance is what the paranormal needs, but the skepticism is important. Okay. I want to know what you guys think. How you try to balance your amount of skepticism and open-mindedness when it comes to things that you're looking at. Either if it's TV shows that you're watching, if you're not an investigator, or if you are, if it's things that you see or recordings that you get or things that you see on other people's forums, websites, and social media platforms. What do you guys think? We'll head back over and see what's going on in chat. Any questions? Anything?
Oh, my comments disappeared.
Your comments disappeared? That's not
Yeah.
good.
Well, I have one, so I'll go first while she's bringing up her comment. Scott said debunkers are fun killers to the average investigators.
Debunkers are fun killers to average investigators. That's what you said.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, in the chat, they're just talking about what a debunker does, and and stuff like that.
Yes. What Scott likes to do is he tries very hard just to come up with alternate explanations for things. He doesn't try to know or be 100% sure about what it is. But, everybody who has that job can slip into the cynical role to where, they can become very judgmental of somebody and expect them, to be, not taken seriously because they don't, display the same amount of skepticism he does. So there is kind of like an example of how he needs to balance. Like, he understands that he could be a fun killer, but what's important to him is just doing what he likes to do. I mean, Scott was in the haunt business. He's in the law enforcement. He has skill sets to allow him to do those things easily in a more objective way. He understands psychology enough to understand what people can be subjected to when it comes to creepy, dark places, being fed full of information, what he calls fear seeds, and triggers that might, lead you into believing that something may be there when in fact there's no evidence of it. So there is a role for skeptics and debunkers on a team. I believe every team should have one.
Sure.
Missy?
Okay, I got him back. Daniel Everson said, I don't care if it's 99%, it's debunkable.
Okay.
Joe Paris said, let me tell you something. If you were ever at an exorcism, you would change your mind. How can someone believe in the Holy Ghost and not a spirit?
I could give you my insight. I've thought about this. Mainly people believe certain parts of the Bible and perceive certain parts of the Bible in certain ways. A lot of times they'll read the Bible and they'll say, okay, well, when someone passes, they remain in the ground, kind of like in a stasis, and they're only reanimated and conscious again when Jesus comes back at the end of days in the book of Revelations. But that's not quite what the Bible says. If you read Samuel, I think 28, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but when Samuel's brother Saul came to power when Samuel passed away and got control of the kingdom, he had a battle that he was very fearful of, and he pretty much banished all necromancers and all psychic people in the realm, but he sought a lady outside the realm to try to get information about what would happen. So he went to Endor and he found a witch, and he asked the witch what would happen during this battle, and Samuel actually manifested visually to them in the Bible. And according to the Bible, that's not true. In this instance, there is contact with the dead. So there's a lot of people out there that just does not believe that the spirits can be contacted. They believe that it's demonic, and they believe it's not of God. This whole necromancy thing. Okay, that's why I named this show Necromancer that I do on Wednesday nights. You're actually that's what we're performing in a biblical sense. But I believe that's why people don't believe that.
And then Jim Perrin said, I wish I could post photos on here. I told him to send it to you in a private message.
Yeah, send it to the page. Just message me, and if you want to, we'll take a look at it, and we can look at it from a photographer's point of view and a skeptic's point of view.
I don't know, it'll be fun.
I warn you, you may not like it.
And Bill Davis said, if I see someone using a device I'm skeptical of, I will try out my own version I build or try to implement something else. I think that's what it says, because I can't read the whole comment. It won't let me.
Whose comment was it?
Bill Davis's.
Bill Davis. See if I can find it. It must be pretty far back.
It's the last three comments.
Last three comments. If I see someone using a device I'm skeptical of, I will try out my own version I will build or try to improve on it. That's all it says.
Yeah, okay. And then I didn't get all of Daniel's either, and it won't let me see more, so.
I respect skeptics. They have helped me debunk and also confirm some of my evidence. They can be helpful.
And then Diana said, I always like hearing what Scott has to say about things. He makes us think.
Right. I don't try to, how should I say this?
Discouraged.
Well, no, I don't try to assume that I know something's paranormal, even though I can't explain it. But although there's ultimate go ahead and mute yourself unless you get another thing going. I don't expect to know what's paranormal 100%. I do know I have experiences in my life that are definitely not a hallucination or a lie. They're, by definition, paranormal, but there's other things to know about what I experience that I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever know. No one really knows everything about the afterlife until they die, right? When it comes to EVP, you have to really be careful. Sometimes you'll hear someone say something that, about a device or about a method, and they'll be like, okay, that's a thing that I could use to give an explanation for, but they don't fully understand it. But they'll just throw it out there. Like, oh, it's pareidolia, it's, something with a device that gives a false positive, but, they become cynical and they don't look at it with an open mind all the time. So, it's hard to find that middle ground, that balance, okay? Being 100% and purely objective is that balance that I would like for myself to be at, and I would like to advocate for everyone to be. But it's hard. It's just so hard because you're trying very hard to investigate, and you believe in your heart that the paranormal is real, and you spend all this money and time to go to this place, and it's so discouraging to find nothing. But it should be okay to find nothing. It should be fine, and that should be the norm. Unless you're there for 10 years and find nothing, and then you can just fairly say, well, this place isn't haunted, according to me. But we rarely get that opportunity to investigate any place thoroughly enough. Me being brought up for a long time in a house that did have paranormal phenomena happening, the phenomena happened very far and few between. But when it happened, it was crazy. Some things were subtle. Some things were not subtle at all. Things flying across the freaking room like Poltergeist, the movie. We can be damn sure that that's not normal. Okay? That's paranormal. What causes that is the question. that we try to figure out. So, what do? I think the best position is to say, okay, we don't understand what this is. We can't figure it out. So we're just going to put this on a shelf of we don't fucking know what it is. And what we need to try to do, including myself, is just try to, not label it as a ghost, an EVP, or paranormal, okay, in a general sense, until we have further evidence to back up and validate what it is. The more we do that, the better we will look to the skeptics and the community that scrutinize our work, scientists, non-believers, whoever that may be. They'll be like, okay, they're trying very hard. They're not, not jumping across a creek and saying, hey, this is paranormal. I don't care what you think. Or they're just assuming that it is, even though they don't understand. What I try not to do is subtitle a voice phenomena, unless I'm pretty damn sure of what it says. But if I do, it's not end all say all. If someone else hears something, I'm not going to be discouraged. I'm going to be like, okay, well, they hear something completely different. Maybe we need to take a step back and reevaluate it. A lot of people do the subtitling, and I think we need to try harder not to suggest what we hear. Let other people hear it and let them tell you without everybody else hearing what you say, so everybody gets their most honest opinion about what they hear. Same thing with photographs. What do they see? Submit a photo without a circle around it and say, what do you think? Okay. If we don't know what it is, then we just label it as unknown. Okay. Because no one really knows what a ghost is. No one's really sure if it exists. No one really sure if it's the actual soul of a person, if it's some type of aspect that's left behind in the environment, whether they're alive or dead, like something residual, some type of energy that's just an essence or aspect of who a person is, or what their emotions are, what they leave outside in the environment. We do not know. We just have ideas. So maybe what we can do, maybe if you get anything from this little video that we're doing, maybe you just need to chill out on what you're telling people, what you think you got when you present it to them. Maybe you need, including myself, I try to take my own advice as much as possible. Okay. This is just as much therapy to me as it is to my viewers. Okay. So as I'm doing this and I'm saying this, I'm trying very hard to listen to myself and to constantly be better, constantly learn, accept the things that I do wrong, accept my mistakes and my shortcomings, and try to do something good, positive. Okay? So if you are turned off about skepticism in the paranormal field, please don't be. Don't be so thin-skinned when someone doesn't believe in your photo or your video. Just say, okay, grain of salt time. He doesn't believe. It may be because he won't believe anything, or it may be because he needs more proof. And that's fine. Try not to bicker. Try not to allow it to affect you and compromise you to, to where you can't move forward in a way to do good work. Okay, or to be perceived as you would like to be perceived. I think the less I try to project myself as some kind of super ghost hunter or super paranormal investigator, expert guy, the better I'm received and the better I feel when it comes to how I'm scrutinized and how I mesh with other people. I think that's common sense, right? Is that common sense? I believe so. I want to know what have you guys ever caught something and maybe a month goes by, 6 months, a year, few years go by to where you found out and you went back to that and said, I don't think that's paranormal. I think I figured that out. I want to know if you guys have done that. Have you scrutinized your own work after time has gone by? Have you listened to somebody else's feedback about what you got and kind of came to an agreement with them and yourself that what you thought was paranormal, in fact, may not be paranormal at all? Let me know in the comments about what you think about that. And we'll go back to the girls. see, we'll catch up with the comments, the questions, and then maybe you guys will answer that question for me here in about 10 seconds. I'm putting you to work.
Christy said, if it can't be contacted, explain to me how we got what we got on the, and I'm probably going to mispronounce it. Is it Antioch?
Antioch.
Antioch, okay.
All right, well, obviously I can't say all the details of this because this involves a case that involves part of her family, but we were told not to do anything else with. I can't explain that to her. I believe that that's who it was that we recorded, but I can't prove it beyond anything else than what we recorded. So you could possibly say, I just can't. There's some things I can't debunk.
Okay. She also said, why do you think that sometimes there is something that happens and sometimes not? Also, do you think that you can only reach out to certain people who has passed, if that makes sense?
Okay. There's a lot of theories when answering that question, and I'll try to do the most popular ones. One theory that I like and I subscribe to is we're in a constant state of flux. Whatever dimension, whatever frequency or vibration these things are operating on do not stay the same. Okay? We phase in and out with their dimension, with their reality, with their frequency. And they're not always seeing us. We're not always seeing them. Okay? They may be theoretically on a higher plane of existence that vibrates at a higher rate than us. It allows them to see us, but we can't see them. Maybe they need to change their frequency. Maybe there's pools or portals or areas, patches between the realms that thin. So the crossover and the contact between spirit and us can happen. Okay? Those are the leading ones. And I believe that other people have capacities that are greater than others when it comes to sensing things, like seeing, hearing, knowing, all those things. So, yes, people, I believe, have a better skill at that.
Okay.
And there's theories to explain that. Go ahead.
Okay, Chrissy's actually making you work because she has another one.
Okay.
For instance, that does believe in the paranormal, will we be the only ones who will, hold on. For instance, like us, does that believe in paranormal? Will we be the only ones who will others be able to reach out to us after we pass?
It helps to be open enough to receive subtle signs. Some people get godsmacked in the face with the paranormal, whether they believe it or not, and that happens. So to answer that question, I still think people will still experience things for the first time and just be totally flipped. So I don't think it relies solely on people that just believe.
Okay, Scott said, sorry, excuse me. I'm skeptical of the frequencies paranormal stuff. I think it's rare. If you're experiencing stuff everywhere and every time you investigate, you need to reevaluate your techniques.
Okay. You can look at that two ways. If you're trying to only investigate haunted, known locations that are reported to be haunted, your chances of getting something is higher. But like I said before, even at places that do have things going on, it does not happen every day, all the time. It's rare even when you get a place that's haunted. So with that being said, it's hard to know what your chances of getting something. You can increase your chances if you're doing things the right way. But even your methods can be scrutinized. Knowing what the right methods are, if Scott thinks that someone else's methods are wrong, but they may not be wrong. That could be why. It's hard to know everything. When you're at your house, or if you're just going through the graveyard and you're getting something every time, yes, I agree with him. The the chances of getting anything at places that there shouldn't be anything. But again, on the other side of that, a lot of people believe that spirits are everywhere and they can contact you from anywhere. You know, people believe that their loved ones or their guardian angels or their spirit guides are constantly there. So if you're doing things the right way, if you have the ability to get in touch with them, you can have paranormal things happen anywhere and everywhere. So you need to, in my opinion, you need to consider all those things.
Sure. Truth Paranormal said the telephone rang from Hales Bar Dam that you made a comment about. He didn't take offense to it. He promises.
Oh, I know he didn't. That was really cool audio. It sounded like a school bell ringing or a phone. Like, you know, they have the similar mechanism where, you know, it's just this hard thing hitting a bell. And it wasn't like someone was hitting it. It was actually like it was a mechanism. It was all, you know, in a rhythm and sequence, just like a school bell works. That dam is just a tricky son of a gun. I mean, it's going to produce sounds of all kinds of things that are going to be hard to figure out. So I was just kind of just throwing it out there. Like, you know how sometimes the wind will blow a glass bottle and it'll make it ring as it's blowing? You know, that's just, I've heard similar things from that. So I just threw that out there. But they're going to, if they went, go ahead.
Nope, go ahead.
I was just going to say, they were there. They went and investigated to try to find it, even though I didn't see them on video doing it. I assumed that they did.
Truth Paranormal also said, I have gone over potential evidence from years past and thought, well, shit, that's not paranormal. It also means that he's learned, he said.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
And that's going to happen. That's happened with me. I hope it happens with everybody.
I think that's about it that I've seen so far.
All right. Back to you, Missy.
Joel Myers said, Justin is so on point. Jim Harris said, how old is the host and how many years experience in the field?
Repeat that last question.
He wants to know how old is the host and how many years experience in the field.
I am 39 years old, and I have been actively investigating the paranormal in the field since March of 2013. So 5 years and I don't know how many months. Do the math.
Joe Paris said opinion based is all this shit is true.
A lot of it is opinion. A lot of it is, you know, somebody's ideas being tested. I think we can all nod our heads to is the fact that there's things out there that we don't understand. We can't explain. And not everything can be described, measured, and tested by scientific methods. There's a lot of things out there we just don't understand. Ghosts, spirits might be one of them. Okay? So when I hear someone say that, please try to have an open mind that there can be things out there. Just because you have never experienced it does not mean that it doesn't happen to someone else. So with knowing that, you have to leave some space in your head saying, if he did experience what he said he experienced, what could that be? What in the hell is that? Is it part of the mind? Is it actually out there for other people to perceive and experience? It's worth looking into, in my opinion. So, but he's right. There's a lot of people out there that are just trying to solidify something that they believe in, when in fact there's no irrefutable proof of what they're claiming is real. Does happen. So here we are in the paranormal field trying to do that still. This shows like this are trying very hard to reach out to the paranormal community to come up with ways to do things better. So hence the topic for today, skepticism. When we cross off things off the list that are not paranormal, it'll help us get to maybe potential answers to what is.
Okay, now Christy's going to make me work. She said, "Why do you think some people could some can see things or spirits with the naked eye, but some can't?"
I have a theory. I have an opinion. Are you ready for it? Christy knows. She's heard me talk about it. I've done some research on proteins that exist in the eye. I read an article about a scientific study that a protein called cryptochromes, there's a spectrum of cryptochrome proteins in the eye. They do different things. One is called Cry4 cryptochrome. And what they did is took the Cry4 cryptochrome out of the human eye, injected it into a fruit fly, and they were trying to allow these fruit flies to see magnetic fields again because they believe that Cry4 allows things to navigate using magnetic fields. And they've tested this and they found evidence of it, even in birds. They believe that sun navigation was wrong in birds, that some use Cry4 cryptochromes to see magnetic fields. And that's how they're able to navigate, because they can see the magnetic field lines that the Earth produces, and they can determine their position on the Earth and, plot a course. Okay, with that being said, there are Cry4 proteins in the eye of humans. And what happens when you see a magnetic field with these cryptochromes is it looks like a little shadowy thing. Okay, so not everybody has the same amount of Cry4 cryptochrome in their eye. Okay, so if somebody theoretically having considerably more cryptochromes of Cry4 variety in their eye, they're going to see magnetic fields more. So if magnetic fields have anything to do with paranormal things, that could be an explanation of why some people could see things when others can't. And that could also explain why these people with high levels of cryptochrome see things sometimes, but not all the times, because the protein levels in the eye change throughout the day in the course of their life. That's one theory. Another one could be completely non-scientific, but we won't go into that.
Okay, I think that's all I got right now.
Okay. Good questions. I see that Christy's both on YouTube and Facebook. She's lurking, everybody. She's reading your comments, and she's judging you. I'm just joking. Some people can see things. I believe that. I believe that certain people that I know can be standing right next to you and see something you can't. Okay? And the reason I believe that is I have my own validation of such things. All right? We won't go into that. If you want to know why I feel like those things have been validated for me, message me, call me on the phone, and I can explain it to you without, using up all this time on the show. But I appreciate you guys watching, asking questions, giving your comments. You may not agree with me. You may agree with everything. You may agree with some things. But I think that just because we're having this conversation and you're knowing what I'm thinking and what I've gathered in my research, I'm seeing what you think, that interaction will influence each other in the paranormal community in a positive way to strengthen it, to temper it, to push it into the direction it needs to go, in my opinion. So I thank you guys for that. I think that this type of discussion is important. I think that we need to find value in other people's opinions and what they've learned and what they think, and try to apply it to your own work. So that's what I try to do. I have found that both skepticism and openness, understanding, both are very valuable. And even though this show is about, is skepticism applicable in the paranormal field, it's also important to say in this show that openness and understanding is too. So they go hand in hand, is what I'm trying to say. But we're winding down. If you have not watched my show before or not familiar with my work, you can learn everything you possibly know on our website at interfacedeath.net or .com, whichever you prefer. We're on all social media platforms. We're on YouTube. We put a lot of stuff out there. We try to communicate all of our ideas, methodologies, things that we try to research, places we've been, what we think about those places. I try to keep a diverse paranormal group, skeptics, sensitives, empaths, camera people, law enforcement officers, EMT people, a mixture of things, okay? Just so we can try to not only get everybody's angle on it, an opinion, but try to unite that diverse group into a good way to try to figure out a problem. I think the more diversity you have and the better you work throughout that diversity as a group will allow you to engage the diversity in the paranormal field in its entirety. That's what I think, and that's what I've tried to do. Am I always successful? No. But, we keep on trucking. We keep on trying to try to get better, try to grow. If you think that, you have something going on and you would like me to peer review it for you, I will always look at it. Don't send me 5 dozen photos. Send me your best photo, your best top 3. Okay? Send me your top 3 pieces of audio, your top 3 pieces of video, your top 3 best evidence. Don't send me everything, okay? Because if you have 50 things, I guarantee you that, it's not what you think it is. Because the paranormal field, like Scott said and many others believe, is very super rare. Okay, it's just rare. The nature of the paranormal is that it's not normal, okay, and that it's outside the understanding of science. So what we're trying to do at Interface Death and other groups alike is to try to take the para out of the paranormal. We need to understand why these things are rare, and we need to understand why we cannot apply science to that, okay? There is an emergent phenomena that is so complex that is outside the understanding of science. It doesn't mean that you can't apply it. It's just, it's outside of our knowledge and our ability to apply it, okay? Let that be the closing statement of this show, okay? Any last words or comments from YouTube or Facebook?
Everybody's just saying a great topic and discussion.
I'm glad they enjoyed it. These topics can be a little difficult. I tried to present them not to piss everyone off or rub them the right way, or wrong way rather. So, I try. I'm glad everybody likes it. Missy, anything on Facebook?
Yeah, Christy said she's going to send you 5,000 order pics.
Oh my God. You'll get 5,000 kicks in the ass.
She's your wife.
That's okay. Like, who was it? I said to Matt Benton on the phone today, I told him that I know Christy loves me because she covers up all the bruises with makeup. Just joking, guys. All right. Good job tonight, girls. Thank you very much once again for helping me with the comments. Without you, this show would not be as good as it is. So again, thank you very much. If you would like, you can stay on the video call as we're in the going into the video promotions and shouting out our patrons. So thank you everybody that's tuned in. I know there's a lot of patrons in the chat, and there's probably a few new viewers. Thank you very much for joining us. We are going to close this show out. Thank you guys for watching and listening, providing your insight, commenting, asking questions. Without you guys, this show would not be what it is. But to go into more detail about other people outside of what you see, we got Patreon, okay? It is a very cool tool to allow others who want to support our content financially and get rewarded for it. As little as people on this list, as little as $1 a month, they give us to donate to all this live content we do on Facebook, on YouTube, all the paranormal research we do, all the film production we do. That stuff adds up so fast and it's freaking expensive and time consuming. So if you like this content, if you believe in it and want to help make sure that it stays where it is and gets better, check out patreon.com/support Interface Death. The link is in the descriptions. And if you're on YouTube, it's in the cards. Okay. Christy, Clay, Matthew, Matt, Danette, Landon, Gwendolyn, Jessica, RJ, Liz, and Bill. All of these people help make this what you're seeing possible. Our thanks to them, our appreciation is, to the highest and fullest respect. So Thanks, guys. Please check it out. There you have it. Another one in the books. Skepticism should be applied, but the same amount of openness and patience should be as well. You guys have been great. We have Necromancer tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, both on the Necromancer live show Facebook page and the Interface Death YouTube channel. We have Brandon Masulo, an author, parapsychologist, psychologist, and has also studied and where's his bio again? I mean, his bio is pretty impressive. Let me go to Necromancer really quick. I want to know where the heck he's studied at again, because this show is going to be cool. I think it's in Edinburgh, but I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Let's see if I am. Okay, he's been has been a participant and featured speaker at numerous paranormal forums and events, including Coast to Coast AM and the Parapsychological Association's 60th anniversary celebration. He studied psychology and parapsychology at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland. Okay, how many people you know has those credentials? He's an author, has wrote a book called The Ghost Studies. Check that show out tomorrow. It's going to be a really, really, really good one. Okay, we have the world's largest ghost hunt coming up September 29th. We have a ghost walk in Chillicothe coming up, and we're going to be at Mothman Festival this month. So make sure to check us out on social media. Go to interfacedeath.net, subscribe to the mailing list, keep up to date with all the stuff we're doing, and stay spooky, friends. You guys have a good one. You're in my heart. I love you all very much, and we'll see you next time. Stick around for the video promotions. At the end, as always, we'll see you next time.